And we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the fourth part of the show, we're going to talk about the Davante Adams trade rumors more and, just kind of get into that. So, actually, I do have a graphic to put up because, well, we got to take down the slideshow here. But, Davante Adams did talk about how Aaron Rodgers has been in his ear and he's trying to recruit him. So I did want to put up the stats that him and Rodgers, put together. These are just his stats with Aaron Rodgers because there were times where, Rodgers was hurt. These are his stats with Aaron Rodgers playing quarterback with the Packers. So I just wanted to have that up as we discuss this. But yeah, so Davante Adams did bring up how, Rodgers has kind of been in his ear trying to recruit him. Jets players are on board with that. And you have numerous people in the media coming out, and we'll talk about the media in the next segment when we're talking about Bill Belichick. But yeah, you have people in the media, Boomer Esiason, Dan Orlovsky. You have all these guys talking about how, they could see a trade happening. But for me at the moment, I just don't see it. I think Davante Adams is going to end up staying with the Raiders. Now, if he does go to the Jets, that is a game changer because he still is that dude. He is still one of the best receivers in the NFL, and I think you can make the argument he still is the best receiver in the NFL. And no offense to Justin Jefferson, but I don't know. I felt like with Aaron Rodgers, Davante Adams, was the best receiver. Now, he went to the Raiders, and with Derek Carr still put up great numbers, and then, still put up good numbers last year, but it just, watching receiver, that game against the Lions with Garoppolo, I of course, saw it during the season, but, watching it again, the frustration was boiling over. It was very, Davante Adams was wide open on that one pass that Garoppolo threw to him down the sideline, and he just completely missed him, targeting him in the end zone and that getting intercepted. It was a tough watch. And, there's a lot of times, Davante Adams is wide open and he just doesn't get the ball. Now you got AidanO'Connell and Gardner Minshew. I think you'd rather play with, Aaron Rodgers, but it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. Boomer Esiason said something along the lines of where there's smoke, there's fire. So, he sees a trade going down. Dan Orlovsky says, I think Davante Adams plays for the Jets this season. But who knows? And I think his agents, they shut that down. Time is running out before the season starts if a deal is to be made. But at the moment, it doesn't seem like a trade is going to happen, but that's not. People in the media would disagree. They think that he can end up playing for the Jets. And that, like I said, that is a game changer if he ended up getting traded to the Jets. Because that helps out Garrett Wilson. That helps out Aaron Rodgers. That gives Aaron Rodgers another weapon to add to this offense. So the agents did recently state that the rumors were baseless. Unfounded speculation. This is from Adam Schefter reporting on what the agent said. But again, just because his agents speak out and say that, they're not true, doesn't mean it can't happen. So, we'll have to wait and see how this all plays out. But it's definitely a possibility. And I'll just leave it at that. Now, I kind of lean, like I said, I lean more towards he won't be traded and he's going to stay put. But I'm still open to the idea of, it's a possibility that he could end up being traded. Definitely is. And that would definitely elevate the Jets. Now, even if they got Davante Adams, I still wouldn't sit here and be like, well, I think the Jets, are going to win the Super Bowl. No. I think they could. I think they could win with the roster they have now. But I just, and it's hard for me to say because, I'm an Aaron Rodgers fan, one of my favorite players growing up, but it's been a long time since that last Super Bowl. And you had Davante Adams. Those 2 years you were winning MVPs. And it didn't amount to anything. He ended up losing in the championship game at home, which Rodgers talked about a lot, saying they got to get one of those games there at Lambeau, and they did. But they lost to Tom Brady. And then they lose 13-10 to the 49ers. And the 49ers didn't put up an offensive touchdown that whole game. It was only on a blocked punt. That could have been the year, right? 2021 could have been the year. But unfortunately, it was not the case. And, then Davante Adams ended up leaving, going to the Raiders to play with Derek Carr. And it's interesting because they wanted that to happen. Derek Carr and Davante Adams, they talked about playing together in the NFL. And that was the reason why he ended up with the Raiders. But then, the Raiders cut ties with Derek Carr. Now, that had to do with Josh McDaniels because he wanted his guy. He brings in Garoppolo. But, if Antonio Pierce was the head coach, probably be different. Probably still have Derek Carr. But that was not the case. So, and again, there was more than just that. His mom gets to watch him play. His family gets to watch him play. In Vegas. It's hard to do that when, you're playing in Lambeau. You're playing in Green Bay. His family is, it's closer to his family. So that's another positive, too. If you go to the Jets, you're on the East Coast. So, got a comment from Rick Diaz. He says, let's talk about the San Francisco 49ers. Well, I did talk about them to start the show. He said, what do you think about the San Francisco 49ers are going to do this season? They might surprise a lot of teams. Maybe I'm wrong. I can't tell if that's a troll or if you're being serious. We did talk about the 49ers, though, at the start of the show. So if you want to go back and watch me talk about Brandon Ayuk requesting a trade, make sure to do that. The 49ers are going to be very good. They're going to be very good. And they have been very good. I think that's going to continue. Regardless if Ayuk is there or not, they're still going to be very good. Okay, now he says, talking about the New York Jets. The New York Jets might be in the AFC Championship game. We may be with the Chargers with Jim Harbaugh. So Chargers-Jets championship game. I don't think that's going to happen. Now, I think the Chargers, they can be good this year with Harbaugh now. I think Harbaugh's going to have an immediate impact. I think they could be a wild card team, but I don't see AFC Championship game for them this year. I just came into your show. I understand. I just thought the 49ers surprising people was interesting because I don't really think them being good is a surprise. But Jets Chargers. That would be an interesting championship game, but it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. With you get Davante Adams, the Jets, maybe that just that helps them out even more. I'd be curious to see how the betting odds would change if the Jets got Davante Adams. But who knows? It's just all speculation. Again, the agents, they kind of shut it down, but could be happening. The Jets have tried. The Jets have tried numerous times to try to get Davante Adams with Rodgers there. They're trying to make Packers East over there with they got Allen Lazard, Randall Cobb, Tim Boyle. Why don't they go out and sign? If the Jets suffer any injuries to the offensive line, maybe they give Bakhtiari a call. It's kind of funny. But again, I did bring this up on a previous show, but you had, Tom Brady goes to Tampa. He recruits Gronkowski, Antonio Brown. They sign Leonard Fournette. Rodgers, he's like, get me Randall Cobb, get me Allen Lazard, get me Tim Boyle. And listen, I love Randall Cobb, but Randall Cobb, his best years are behind him. Now, I didn't think Allen Lazard was going to have the fall off that he did, and I think with Rodgers back for a whole year, Lazard is going to be back to being a productive wide receiver, but he's going to have to earn it because he kind of slipped down the depth chart. They bring in Mike Williams. They drafted Corley, and you got some other guys as well. I mean, of course you have Garrett Wilson, but we know he's the number one. Lazard's going to have to earn it, So, but if you bring in Davante Adams now, but again, that's all speculation. The Philadelphia Eagles are not going to do nothing. I don't see that happening at all. I disagree with that. I think the Eagles are going to be good this year. I think the Eagles are going to be very good this year. You could look. I mean, listen, if they continue that trend from last year, then that wasn't a fluke. But I think they got too much talent on that team. I think they're going to be very good. And then he also says the NFC West is up for grabs. Any given game, any given team could win that. I'm going to leave it like that. Yeah, I don't know about that. I think that's the 49ers division to lose. And Seattle's got a new head coach. The Cardinals are still, trying to work themselves back to, at least being a playoff contender. I think with Kyler Murray playing for a whole season, they're going to be better. But, I think they still got some things to do. And then you got the Rams. I think the Rams are the second best team in the division. You got Cooper Kupp, Matthew Stafford, both healthy. Puka Nacua again, year 2. Kyron Williams, year 2. Now, Aaron Donald not being there, that hurts. But you know what? Sean McVay is a great coach. They're going to figure it out. I think they'll be a playoff team this year. But I don't think the division's up for grabs. I think the Niners are the clear-cut favorite. But again, new year, you never know. So, but yeah, that's pretty much it when talking about Davante Adams. The agents kind of shut things down. I think he said he wants to stay with the Raiders. But again, who knows? Anything can happen. But it would be crazy if he does end up getting traded. But let me know what you guys think. Do you think Davante Adams will end up on the Jets? Let me know in the comments. Because Aaron Rodgers has said, he can't wait to play with him again. But that could also mean he goes to Vegas and plays for the Raiders. So when we get back from our next break, we will talk about Bill Belichick. Andrew Perloff had some strong comments on Belichick, calling him a hypocrite for joining the media, basically. So I wanted to get into that, what he had to say, give you my thoughts. So for one final time today, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.